Dr. Korax had spent 3 centuries studying alien biology. The insectoid physician prided himself on his encyclopedic knowledge of every species in the galactic registry. Nothing surprised him anymore. Until he met humans. The first patient arrived unconscious, brought in by the station's security team. Dr. Korax initiated a full diagnostic scan, his 4 manipulative appendages working across the holographic interface with practiced precision. The readings made no sense. What happened to this creature? He clicked to the security officer, a verdant whose botanical features rustled with concern. He collapsed during his work shift, the officer replied. We found him on the floor of the hydroponics bay. Dr. Korax examined the human more closely. The vital signs were erratic but stable. The neural patterns showed unusual activity. Most peculiar was the chemical composition of the blood, elevated stress hormones, depleted electrolytes, and something the scan identified as caffeine withdrawal. How long has this human been conscious and active? Korax asked. 23 hours, according to his work log, the verdant said. The doctor's mandibles clacked in alarm. 23 hours without rest? This should have induced a coma in any reasonable species. Yet the human's body seemed almost adapted to this abuse. Korax ran the diagnostics again, certain something was wrong with his equipment. The readings remained unchanged. Over the next week, more humans arrived at the medical bay with similar presentations. One had fractured 3 ribs and simply bound them with a cloth wrap before continuing his duties. Another presented with a bacterial infection that should have required immediate quarantine, yet the human's immune system was actively fighting it without any pharmaceutical intervention, and winning. But the most shocking discovery came when Dr. Korax attempted to treat a human named Captain Sarah Mitchell for a laceration on her arm. I'll just need to sterilize this and apply a dermal regenerator, he explained, reaching for his instruments. No need, Doc, Mitchell said casually. Just slap some of that synthetic skin on it and I'm good. The wound requires proper treatment, Korax insisted. The tissue damage is. I've had worse, Mitchell interrupted, standing up and examining the cut with disinterest. Look, I once got shot through the shoulder and still finished my patrol. This is nothing. Dr. Korax felt something akin to what biological species called vertigo. Shot through the shoulder? And she continued functioning? He pulled up Mitchell's medical file and discovered something that made his neural processors ache. The woman had 17 separate injury records. Broken bones. Lacerations. A punctured lung. She had survived a near-fatal poisoning. Her medical history read like a horror story of systematic abuse, not from others, but from her own species' apparent indifference to personal safety. Captain, Korax said slowly, do humans intentionally engage in activities that damage their bodies? Mitchell laughed, an unsettling sound. You mean like sports? Drinking? Free climbing? Yeah, we do that for fun. For fun? The doctor's antennae drooped. You deliberately cause yourselves harm for entertainment? Well, it builds character, Mitchell said with a shrug. Korax spent that night reviewing human behavioral patterns. The data was disturbing. Humans engaged in activities that any rational species would immediately eliminate: extreme sports, recreational consumption of toxic substances, physical combat for no purpose beyond pride, and something called extreme weather hiking. He discovered that humans regularly consumed a beverage that disrupted their sleep cycles, creating dependency that forced them to consume more. They slept far less than their physiology recommended. They ignored pain signals, pushed through exhaustion, and seemed almost proud of their suffering. Most shocking was the discovery that humans actively sought out situations designed to trigger fear responses: horror entertainment, dangerous professions, activities explicitly called extreme or death-defying. The doctor called an emergency meeting with the station's medical council. These humans, he announced, are not merely biologically resilient. They are psychologically damaged in a way that makes them functionally superior to civilized species. They don't fear suffering because they've normalized it. They don't respect their own safety because they've evolved in an environment where injury is routine. A crystalline delegate spoke up. Are you suggesting humans are naturally superior? No, Dr. Jean-Corax said carefully. I'm suggesting they're naturally broken in a way that makes them unstoppable. They treat catastrophic injury as inconvenience. They thrive on stress. They actively seek out pain. He paused, his mandibles clicking uncertainly. In short, he continued, they've evolved into the galaxy's perfect soldiers not despite their flaws, but because of them. We need to be very careful with this species. As if on cue, Captain Mitchell walked past the viewing window outside the medical bay, fully healed, already back on duty, and apparently planning her next extreme sport. Dr. Jean-Corax realized the galaxy had been wrong about humans all along. They weren't dangerous because they were strong. They were dangerous because they didn't understand the concept of enough. And that made them absolutely terrifying.